guys. Sorry I've been gone for so long. It's been a bit crazy. I did record this video a week after I was diagnosed, but it was so choppy and my mind was just everywhere that I was like, I can't upload this. And then, as the title says, I will be doing a health update at the end because it's been quite rocky. Penny is chewing on her toy next to me, so you may hear that. But I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome on October 22nd. I have the hypermobility type, which is the most common type, but it doesn't have a specific gene mutation found yet. There is 13 types, but that's the one I have. They didn't want to do any actual genetic testing just because from my skin usually warrants other testing for the vascular type or the classical type. It wasn't really necessary, we decided, but I did meet the criteria. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a connective tissue disorder where collagen, it's the most abundant protein of connective tissue, found in connective tissue, is defected, and so in all the types there's hypermobility, but it's way more than that. As I mentioned, there's also skin, but there's also intestinal problems and can be heart problems and all these different things. So it encompasses the entire body. Obviously, hypermobility is pretty easy to see when you can just do that. Not everyone can do that. I didn't actually understand that for quite a while because when I grew up, my grandma has elbows that go backwards very far, and so I just really didn't understand. I never really paid attention. I had heard of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome before, and so when I started having some weird symptoms, that's when I was like, okay, maybe this is it. And eventually I did advocate for myself a ton to get this testing done and to see a geneticist, because I was like, honestly, this is what matches up, and if it's not that, I'll be pointed in a different direction, but maybe they'll figure it out. So in June, I had subluxed my thumb by just popping it. Ever since I was a kid, I always pop my fingers and all my joints because to me it was like, ow, I'm gonna pop them. So I can never really tell if I always had somewhat of a chronic joint pain there or if it was just something that I did to relieve some pain, because, well, lots of people pop their joints. But I popped my thumb and it popped out. And so I freaked out and just popped it right back into place, and it hasn't really ever been the same since, so don't do that. But then it kept on coming out. I remember I had a lunchbox with my water in it, and I held it and I picked it up like this, and my thumb came out again, and that just continued. And then my hips started subluxing, and then my shoulders, and then they started actually fully dislocating, and that is when it was happening so persistent and it was affecting my walking, and everything that I was doing was the point where I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. But unfortunately, not many people know about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's being more known about, but a lot of people were like, no, you're not hypermobile enough, you're not enough of this, no, it's a very rare disease, no, but it's actually more common than is actually thought to be in statistics. So eventually, after so much time and so much suffering of that, I'm honestly luckier because I was able to get my doctors to let me see a geneticist. Some people will not be able to do them for years, so for me, my long time is nothing compared to other people. So I'm really, really thankful, but it was a while because it just deteriorated so quickly. Because once one joint comes out, it's so much easier to come out, and then you have defective collagen, and then it can come out so much more easy. So those were my first signs of pain or things coming out of place. I did do the test and I passed, obviously, and so I'll link down below the EDS website, the official website, and it has all the different types because there's obviously more than one type, and under there has a hypermobility type and like what the actual like diagnosing criteria that a doctor is going to make you do, and then it has the other types in their criteria. So as I mentioned before, I wasn't tested for other types because of my skin, and so I have like somewhat stretchy skin. It's a little bit, you know, but not as much as someone in the classical or vascular types, which their skin may be very stretchy and a lot thinner than mine is, but I do have fragile skin, and I do have sensitive skin, I do have soft skin, which does fit other parts of the criteria. So the testing, the geneticist was really, really amazing. It was like so refreshing to have a nice doctor who really listened and took the time to understand my medical history, my whole family's medical history. It was very refreshing, honestly. So being diagnosed now, obviously, it's been harder on me. You know, it affects the entire body. And there is no cure for Ehlers Danlos. There's treatment that you can do to manage the symptoms and different things that pop up, because everyone who has it differently. You could have the exact same type, the exact same mutation. If you were tested and have a different type and you have that, it's going to be different. And I think that just goes for every single illness there is out there. No one's gonna be the same. So as a child, I did have some other symptoms, but they were like benign. They really didn't cause me too much pain. I have a very small mouth, and that caused me to have an expander and braces. I ended up having my teeth come through the top of my gums because my other teeth weren't falling out and my mouth was way too tiny. I've had several teeth pulled. It was pretty crazy, and I just thought it runs in my family, you know, on my dad's side it runs in my family, so I was like, okay, whatever. But I was at the geneticist appointment, and you know, they're looking for all these different signs. Some of the things is like small mouth, narrow palate, dental problems, different things. And I said, oh, I had an expander and braces because of all these different things, because I knew the criteria and I had done my research. And he's like, wow, your mouth is still so small even though you had an expander. I'm like, EDS. But that was some of the more benign things. Again, the hypermobility. When I was a kid, I was like, I did dance and I was like, oh, in first position people's feet are like this. Well, instead I wanted to put my feet like 180. And so I'm like, I was always wanting to be the best, and I didn't understand that was bad for my joints. So I mean, it affects everything, like I said. So I'm sort of gonna go into more my health update now, because that does encompass some of what EDS does. I've had a few cardiology appointments because some of the medicines that I was on, I do have POTS. I've explained in my other videos what that is. It's a form of dysautonomia, and that basically means your autonomic nervous system is not working the way it should. So I started having high blood pressure, which is normally not what happens with POTS. There is like hyperPOTS, which can be like variable blood pressure. We believe it was based off of the medicines that I was on, because I have been on quite some medicines and they can mess with your heart, and so that's normal. And then I also, we've always suspected that my adrenaline is just up or down. I have anxiety, I don't have amps, a lot of things become out of whack. And so when I get excited or nervous, I become in a ton of pain and my body just acts up. So I was put on a beta blocker and it took down my blood pressure significantly, but in a good way, where I was in so much pain where my blood pressure would probably be like 160 over like 100. It was 138 over like 95, I think it was, which my normal without like being in extreme pain was 140 over 98. I was so happy when I saw that. And we recently took my blood pressure and it was like 110 over 87, I think. So a lot better. So that was very good. The cardiologist was super nice as well. But unfortunately, I've always had a lot of GI issues. Oh, I forgot to say, dysautonomia is very common with EDS. And heart problems, but we haven't done an echo, but we've done like a ton of EKGs, and so far everything has come back okay. We also did a Holter monitor, which if you don't know what that is, it's a 24-hour heart rate monitor that, you know, you get all these wires connected to you, you have this little device, and when he's going crazy, and at the end of it, you just take off the device and mail it back to the hospital. But I've always had a lot of GI issues, which is very common also with EDS. They can be functional GI issues, and I mean, honestly, there's so many. There can be prolapse, there can be organs that rupture, there is also motility issues. And so I have IBS. I've had a whole humongous workup of checking for irritable bowel like diseases like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, all that kind of stuff, which all came back negative. I had that like this past year, in March and April. So I had a lot of tests done. So we know I have IBS, and it has affected me a lot. I had severe constipation. Now I'm on medicines and it regulates it fairly well, which I'm really relieved for, because you do not want to be constipated because you're just keeping all these toxins in your body, and the longer you are, the worse it will be and harder to recover from it. So I take Miralax and Amitiza. I take Amitiza twice a day, and I take Miralax once a day. I can regulate it based off of how I'm feeling. If I'm having a day where my intestines just want to flush out and I'm having a lot of pain, or I'm in too much pain, I won't maybe do half of Miralax. Maybe I won't take it exactly. I might do Amitizas. I might, or if it's bad, I might take like, you know, 2 packets of Miralax, but I haven't done that in a long while. But I also haven't really been eating much. About a year ago now, I stopped being able to eat red meat. It just hurt. I've had to cut out a lot of things because IBS, you know, you don't want to be eating. I was a total junk foodie, like wings and fried chicken and like tacos, and I would eat wings literally every day after school, and that's just the way I was. And that was that. Chocolate I can't really have because of caffeine, and lactose I don't react well to, even though I don't have lactose intolerance. And then the red meat went away, and I was like really sad because like I like it. And then I was left with chicken. And then I was in the hospital, and I was able to still have chicken, but I wasn't allowed to eat because of tests at some points, but it was fine. And then I wasn't able to eat chicken anymore. It hurt too bad. So I was on fish because that's a lighter meat. And that worked for a while. I had some points where I couldn't really eat it too much. And then I was able to eat it again for a little while. And then I was not. It was way too painful for me. So I decided I'm just gonna eat what I can eat. And that was basically like rice cakes and pretzels. And I pretty much lived off of that for a few months. Like literally, it's been pretty rough. And then I couldn't eat that. I started getting really sick from it. Nausea is very bad with me. And I've tried Zofran. I haven't tried any other nausea medicines to eat ginger cheese like crazy because it's the only thing that has really helped my nausea. But I started throwing up and dry heaving for way longer after this food should be left out of my stomach. And I think it really, you know, I've had GI issues and you're like, I can't eat. I want to have answers, but I've been through so much with my GI system that I was like, I'm not going through this again. And until it was like, I think it was like 6 hours after I had eaten, and they were like these rice cake chips that are popcorn flavored, and I threw it up. literally had not eaten for the 6 hours I was asleep and I was not feeling well, and I threw it up, and not to be gross, but it literally looked like I had chewed it and spit it out. And so I immediately was like, okay, something's wrong. I'm having problems with my stomach. I don't know what to do. So, no, Winnie, don't be loud. So I was like, Mom, there's something wrong. And my mom was like, I agree, because it was not going away. I was in the bathroom for hours. I still am in the bathroom for hours with so much GI pain, a ton of bloating from minimal food. I mean, I could eat Italian ice and have really bad bloating. And so we decided to get a gastric emptying scan. And so I had that last Friday. It was the 28th. So yeah. And so that was a really long test. I don't know the results. Penny started barking. She heard someone outside. It was a truck. But we won't get the results back until Monday the 7th. So, I mean, I don't know. The tech is not obviously allowed to disclose the information, but they do say if at 3 hours your stomach is like pretty much mostly empty, you're allowed to go home, because there really isn't a need for a 4th scan. And she was like, I will need to, like, before I went in for the 3rd scan, she's like, I need to calculate it, and then we'll figure it out, so I'll come back to you. And it's like the 3rd scan is like immediately done. She's walking me back to my mom, and she's like, so just by looking at it, I haven't calculated it yet, but I think we're definitely gonna need like a 4th scan. And I was like, okay. So I won't know the results until like Monday. Again, that still, you never know with testing. I'm hoping for answers and help, because it is really hard. I've been pushing myself a ton. Honestly, food hurts me so bad, but I have come so far because I've actually been willing to try things. I know I need protein, and I have been devoid of protein, God, since July. I hadn't had any protein. And I can't have like peanut butter and stuff because I react to it. I've never been tested officially for an allergy, but I just know I react to it. So I decided I'm going to try scrambled eggs. It hurts, and it does cause me all my symptoms, but I've been learning how to keep down my throw up as best I can, and do whatever I can to keep whatever is in me, because I'm not eating that much. So honestly, if you asked me that in November to try it, I would have said no. And at this point, I'm like, wow, why didn't I say yes like months ago? But it is what it is. So I'm hoping that this will be, you know, helpful to you guys knowing what's been going on. And I am planning to be back regular doing videos. I know I say this a lot, but it was just really crazy. But I feel like now, I think I went through a huge point of being like sort of like upset. And you know, we all go through a grieving process when we're sick, and it doesn't always stop. But I was going through a hard time of being like, my joints are so bad, now I can't eat, oh my god. And I just really needed to be like, okay, I need to process this all. So I hope you all are well. Happy New Year. And I hope this year is good for you all. I will also be I'm filming a video immediately after this, which will also be up. But bye guys.